to the imagination and listen to the sound of your own heartbeat, because that is what we're all about here on Children of the Sun, living in the heart. Living in the heart. Dancing the limits of the imagination, because reality goes further, as it really is, in most people's imagination. So when we talk about the limits of the imagination, we're really talking about the limits of what you are willing to believe, conceive, and receive. That's what's really going on. Welcome to the program. Welcome. Good afternoon. Christiansted, Frederiksted, Kings Hill, St. Thomas, St. John, Wada Island, BBI, Tortola, Jocelyn, Dyke, Nevis, St. Kitts, Aruba, Antigua, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Florida Keys, and welcome to the world, because we are also streaming live over the internet. TuneIn Radio on for you Apple people. TuneIn.com for the Android Google users. Streama for just about everybody. You can also get us on the station's website, WSTXradio.com. Just click the Listen Live icon. So, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, of course, that means it's a Friday. If you're hearing me live, anyway. And it is, in fact, Friday, January 29th, 2021, 12:33 p.m. AST, Atlantic Standard Time, because we are broadcasting live from the beautiful Caribbean Sea. Isn't that fun? So, well, actually, we're on an island in the sea. I'm not actually broadcasting from the Caribbean Sea. That would be a trick and a half. But we're on St. Croix, which is a Caribbean island, a tropical island, a beautiful tropical island in the Caribbean Sea, surrounded by turquoise waters. And if you've never seen the color of the Caribbean Sea, I don't care what, how high resolution your flat screen TV is, or what movies you watch, or what, you'll be blown away when you see it with your physical eyes for the first time. Just as we are often blown away by many things that we see with our physical eyes. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about here today. It is the year of the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19. I always like to throw that in there, so that if there's any archaeologists or anthropologists sifting through the rubble 500 years from now, that'll help them date things. Oh yeah, this radio show was on when the virus was there, and so therefore we can conclude that Emperor Trump lived 3,000 years, because, that's how it usually goes. They get things wrong. They have to speculate, guesstimate a lot of times. Well, so, as you know, this program is dedicated to positive energy from a fifth dimensional perspective. So what does that mean? Well, and actually, today is the day when I stop coddling people. Because it's getting to a choice point. We're getting to a choice point of paradise on earth or dystopian hellscape. And it's up to us to choose. And, people say I'm out there, and what I say may appear at first blush to be out there to the surface mind, but this. The reason that my show is still on the air, and the reason that I have, let's just say that, the reason the show's still on the air, the reason I'm, other places are talking about picking the program up, the reason that I have my appointment book filled is because on a deep inner level this resonates with people. It resonates with you because you know that it's true. So I want to talk about what we know is true, even if the surface mind doesn't really want to dwell there, and talk about what we know is true on a deep inner level. And get away from the practicalities of the form road. I'm always trying to honor the form world and talking to you about positive thinking and affirmations and you know, stuff that helps the surface mind have a improved experience in the apparent surface world. So, you know, that has its place, but we've got to stop coddling people, and we've got to talk about what resonates with people on a deeper level, deeper than superficial level, because we all know this is true. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So, you know, this is sort of like you are a character in a video game, and you don't know that you are a character in a video game until one day one of the other video game characters comes up to you and says, hey, you're a character in a video game, this isn't real, this is just a video game. Outside of this, there's things called players, and they control everything. So this world is not real. This world is a projection of your consciousness. This world, this universe, everything, from the car parked in the street across from your house to the Horsehead Nebula at the outer reaches of the universe, is a projection of your consciousness. You project all of this. It is not real. You, and including you as you are in this life, man, woman, I don't know, school teacher, government worker, retired, that's just another projection of your consciousness. That's just another character in the video game. And yet you are more than that, because you are also connected to the real you, your true essence, which is outside of the video game, outside of the projected universe. Or you could think of it as like lucid dreaming, right? A lot of people have had lucid dreams, so I don't think I'm going to be losing too many people on this. Plus, even if you haven't had one, you probably know what it is. It's a dream where you're dreaming, and then you inside the dream you realize that it's a dream, but you don't wake up. You keep dreaming, but now you know it's a dream. Whereas prior to becoming lucid, you didn't know it was a dream. So that's called lucid dreaming, where you're dreaming but you know it's a dream. And so if you compare the experiences on either side of waking up within the dream, you know, at first, right, you're being chased by the monsters, and you're scared to death because you're afraid the monsters are going to eat you, and you're running as hard and as fast as you can in the dream. And then in real life, if someone was watching you in the bed, it's a good chance you're covered in sweat, you're yelling and screaming and moving around, you know, and it's things like the sheets might wrap around your legs, and in the dream, that becomes like the octopus tentacles from the monster wrapping around your legs. So now you're trying even harder to escape and struggling to escape. So, but then you wake up, or not wake up, but you realize it's a dream, and then the monster doesn't scare you anymore. The sheets wrapped around your legs are no big deal. You're not freaking out anymore, because now you know it's a dream. And when that happens, now before that happens, you in the dream have like a consciousness that's totally separate, or it appears to be, it seems to be totally separate from you laying in bed asleep. But after you wake up within the dream and realize that it's a dream, then the you in the dream gets connected, in a sense, to the you that's asleep in bed. Because the you in the dream that knows, oh wow, I'm dreaming, this is a dream, that you knows that there's another you that's safe at home, asleep in bed with no monsters, you know, chasing you. And you know that person is there, and in a sense, the dream consciousness gets connected to your real consciousness. And so it's very, very similar to what happens when you wake up in this world. When you wake up in this world, your consciousness in this world becomes connected to your greater consciousness that is outside of this world, this dream, or this video game. That's another analogy that seems to explain it for people. You know, in a video game, you can put the video game on like autoplay, and the computer program just runs itself, and the characters do whatever the program tells it to do, and it's all on automatic. And so before you wake up, and you could even say before it's not even necessary to fully wake up to get to this place. You can just be aware of the possibility of waking up to get to this place, of no longer being on automatic, no longer being on just a computer program. Most people spend their lives, or at least for the vast majority of human history, people have spent most of their lives totally on automatic pilot. Just computer programs executing the program. Just like when you have a video game and there's no players, it's just running itself, waiting for somebody to come along and play. And it's just running itself. And the characters go wherever the program tells them to go. And so in human history, most of the time, the characters, the people, us, just go wherever the program tells us to go. But then you can have where a player comes in and takes the joystick in hand. And now the character becomes directed by the player. The character doesn't just go automatically where the computer program tells it to go. It goes where the player tells it to go. The player can move the joystick and make the character go up or down, left or right. The character can pick up an object or choose not to, depending on what the player chooses. So now the character has choice. The character has free will. The character is autonomous. It's not just a computer program running on automatic. And so when you are simply running on automatic, becoming, identified with your I, your ego, the voice in your head that's just constantly interpreting things the standard way, from the egoic way, and everything's just running on automatic without any thought about it or any distance from it. You're just totally wrapped up in it. Then you're just on automatic. But if you start to take control of that process, and you start to consider the possibility of awakening within the dream, then your character within the video game, which is you, government worker, school teacher, student, retired person, whatever, you are now making contact with the player. You're the greater self. You're a greater self that is outside of the game. So now you begin to have choices. You begin to be able to respond instead of just react. And it's an interesting thing to go through life considering that everything that happens to you, everything that is out there, everything that comes into your experience is something that you put there for some reason. Actually, there's only one reason. It's to wake you up. We designed this universe to experience separation, but separation from the absolute. But the absolute was not going to leave us hopelessly trapped with no way out. So we get clues. We get things to show us the way out. Things to show us that this isn't real. Things to show us how to overcome the separation. And they are like clues, and you have them every day. Many, many, many times every day. But if you don't know they're there, or you don't, like I say, for the vast majority of human history, people have been on total autopilot. But these days, people are beginning to awaken. These days, more and more people are beginning to realize that those clues are there. They are beginning to realize that every day they are provided with multiple opportunities to awaken, and that the Absolute is sending us signals all the time, and sending us people to come into the dream or to come into the video game and tell us all the time, hey, this is not real. You're not really here. Time to wake up. And it's becoming, more and more people are coming to this realization, and at the same time, the energies of resistance, because, the ego, which has been comfortably enjoying the automatic program for the vast majority of the existence of humankind, which isn't really true because time doesn't really exist. There is actually only right now, eternity, which is not infinitely long time. It is without time, timeless. Timelessness is eternity. But it apparently seems that there is time, past, present, and future. And in that apparent seeming procession of time, it appears that the vast majority of human beings have spent most of their lives completely unaware of the possibility of awakening. And that automatic programming is the conditioned mind, aka ego. And the ego is like a collection of, it's a collection of negative thoughts. Every anti-life negative thought you've ever had coalesces into a constellation of thoughts, and it becomes like a psychic entity or a parasite. And it wants to continue to live. It, like anything. From you to a mosquito. Everything that lives wants to continue to live. So the ego is looking around itself right now and sees that we are all waking up, so it's fighting back. So that's why you've got these extremes that would appear. You've got more and more people finding peace and waking up and harmony, finding peace and harmony and waking up, and at the same time you've got more and more people giving into fear and panic and very dark fantasies and engaging in very violent, dark behavior. But the extreme of the egoic reaction gives it, if the ego wasn't having a problem, it would not be making such a big deal of everything. It's because it feels like it's on the ropes that it's fighting back so hard, and fighting back in such an obvious way, because it doesn't even really care anymore about being discovered, because it figures it has nothing to lose. In fact, one of the an aspect, the especially extreme aspect of ego, Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. He says, he calls it the pain body. Another person calls it the death urge. Leonard Orr calls it the death urge. And the connection between the pain body or the death urge and the ego isn't really always spelled out very clearly by either man. Eckhart Tolle says the pain body is the dark shadow of the ego. Leonard Orr didn't really talk about the ego very much, so he just called all of it the death urge, and he didn't really want to publicly get into it a whole lot. After seeing my own death urge or pain body, what I say is that the pain body or the death urge, whichever name you prefer, is the ego, when the ego doesn't care anymore about pretending to be your friend. When all bets are off, when you are working on completely dismantling the pain body, and it feels existentially threatened, and prior to this, it's always trying to pretend it has your best interest at heart. Hey, I'm your ego. I keep you safe. I keep you from crossing the street in front of a truck. I keep you from touching a hot stove. And now I just want to keep you from being taken advantage of by those people over there, because they don't mean you well. They're out to get you. Listen to me. I'm your friend. So that's the ego, right? And so it wants you to think that it is your friend. the conditioned mind, the brainwashing. And but if you engage in spiritual practices, or well, I mean, it doesn't have to be spiritual. Some people wake up, never did a spiritual practice in their lives. But if you are beginning to awaken, which means you're beginning to awaken from the hypnotic spell of the ego, then a lot of times the ego is no longer worried about trying to pretend to be your friend or keeping that game going. Now it's just fighting for survival. And so that's what's going on now in this present time. We've got so many people waking up and so much hope, an environment, an atmosphere of hope coming into the world, that the ego is existentially threatened. So it doesn't really care very much about pretending to be our friend. It just wants to survive. It figures, well, stay alive today, live to fight another day, and then maybe in 100 years I can start spoofing them into thinking I'm their friend. So that's why we're in this huge disequilibrium right now. And I've talked about this before. I think of it in terms of if you've got any kind of system. I always think of it in terms of a chemical system. If you've got some kind of system in equilibrium, and then you add a new chemical to it, there's a period of disequilibrium where everything is boiling and churning, and vapors and smoke are coming off, maybe bubbles are popping out, and then it goes back into steady state again, and everything gets nice and calm. So right now we left the calm place of ignorance, and we are in right now the unsteady state, the uncalm disequilibrium state of churning and boiling and burning and bubbling between the awakening, the widespread awakening that is happening right now, in opposition to the ego or pain body or death urge that's fighting back, trying to keep things the way they are, the way they were. But if we go the way of the ego, it's not going to go back to the way it was. It's going to go to a dystopian hellscape. Or we can go the way of enlightenment and awakening and love, and have more of a happy dream. Because I don't want to mislead you. This world is not ever going to be heaven. This world does not exist. This world is unreal. This universe is unreal. This is all a creation of your consciousness. It is all a creation of your consciousness. And it was created as an attack on God, as an attack on the Absolute. It was created to prove to you that fear is more real than love, that death is more real than life, that time is more real than eternity. And it provides you with the proof of what you commanded it to prove to you. Projection makes perception. First you decided what you wanted to see. You decided that you wanted to see fear instead of love, death instead of life, time instead of eternity, age and decay instead of permanence. Because you wanted to experience being separate from God. And if you choose, if you are separate from God, then all of those other things have to follow as a logical consequence. So we decided we wanted to see, we wanted to experience, we wanted to be, we wanted to have separation from God. And so we created that. And then when you have created a universe where everything is separate from God, where you are separate from God, that means you're separate from everyone else. That means the universe is filled with all kinds of separate things, and that means they're all in conflict with each other, and that means there's death, and then that means there is fear of being threatened for your survival versus love. Fear instead of love, death instead of life. Past, present, and future instead of the eternal unchanging. So it just follows. It's like a logical consequence of the original choice for separation. And so we decided first, this is what we want to see. And then we projected it out. So we project out into the cosmos what we want to see. And then we see it. We perceive it. So we think that it's the other way around. We think that we perceive what's out there. And we look around and we say, oh, wow, yeah, so everything dies. Okay, nothing lasts forever. Even the Himalayan, even Mount Everest is going to be gone one day. Even the sun's going to be gone one day. Okay. So that tells us that the world is full of change and death and impermanence, and everybody has to fight for their survival. So it's like, what kind of God is this? And it gives you, so now you're like feeling angrily superior to God, which reinforces your psychological sense of separation from God. So it's perfect, right? It's just perfect. That's what we wanted. So that is what we wanted. And so we decided inside our minds first what we wanted. And then we created it. We projected it out. We took what was inside of our mind and we projected it out into creation. So that what was inside of our minds became seemingly. Right? I mean, it's just the same thing as when you're asleep in your bed dreaming, and whether you're awake in the dream, lucid dreaming, or not, it doesn't matter. Inside the dream, you've got like your whole, a whole world going on, right? You're seeing cars or whatever. Depends on what the dream is, of course. But you're inside the dream, you're seeing all kinds of stuff, and you're seeing yourself, and maybe you're seeing, people from your everyday life are in there in the dream with you, and you're having conversations with them, or maybe it's people you never met in your life, and they're showing up in your dream, or people you don't know who the hell they are, and they're showing up in your dream, and you're having conversations with them. You're standing in New York City by the Empire State Building, having a conversation with, the Tooth Fairy. And it makes perfect sense in the dream. But think about it. New York City and the Tooth Fairy and the taxi cabs rushing by and you are all inside your head, because the dream is taking place inside your mind, which is inside your brain, which is inside your head, right? So it's all inside your mind. So all of this reality, quote unquote, reality that we created, we first decided inside our mind what we wanted to experience. And then we project it out, and that creates the cosmos, but that we then experience or perceive. Projection makes perception. We decide what we want, we project it out, we then perceive it back, and we forget that we projected it out in the first place, so we think we're perceiving something new. We think we're perceiving reality as it is. We forget that we're the ones who put it there in the first place. But when I say project out, remember, just like in the dream, the Empire State Building is inside your head. So we're not really, you can't project outside of your mind. The projection remains within the mind. So all of this is within the mind. All of this is within your mind, but it appears to be external to you. Because part of the projection, part of the setup, was you projected your own little avatar character into the dream. You gave it a body with eyes that could see, ears that could hear, hands that could feel. And you see, hear, and feel according to the programming that you wrote, according to the script that you wrote. You see, hear, and feel as if it were real, the dreamscape that you have projected out there. So, one of the practical applications of this knowledge is you begin to realize that what happens to you, or what appears to happen to you in this apparent reality, all of it is a clue. It's all being given to you for the purpose of allowing you to see that it is an apparent reality and that you can wake up within it. And it actually has, within this apparent reality, what I call the world of form, it serves one function of what I like to call honoring the form, saying that just because you know this doesn't mean you can run around doing whatever you want. You don't have to care about anybody else and all that, because that doesn't work either. And that is not honoring the form. That is actually intensifying the delusion and intensifying the suffering and intensifying the fear, and so you will never wake up if you follow that path. But the practical aspect of honoring the form is being open to the awareness, the realization that everything that happens to you in your life every day was put there by you to keep the illusion going. But then, so if you go along with it, you stay trapped in the illusion. But if you begin to question it and look for the clues, you can turn that illusionary experience into a learning experience and learn from it. So I'm going to give you a concrete example. Let's say you're at the store and you're in line to pay, and it's a long line and it's moving very, very slowly, and you begin to get irritated. So the non-awakened way of reacting in this situation that keeps the dream going, that perpetuates the illusion, that reinforces egoic suffering, is to you get irritated. Irritation, upset, and anger begin to arise in you. You begin to have thoughts like, why is there only one register open? Can't they see how many people are in here? This store doesn't care about their customers. They have no respect for the customer. They're going to make us all just sit here and be in line for all this time. Why can't she doesn't know what she's doing? Who's talking about? Well, this must be like a new employee. Doesn't know how to work the machine. And how right? So, and then when in that version of the scenario, you are one with your irritation. You are one with the voice in your head that is complaining, blaming, judging, trying to feel superior. I'm right, they're wrong. But that is not you. That is the dream character. That is the avatar in the video game. You are the player. with the joystick outside of the video game. You are the dreamer, dreaming the dream. And you, the avatar character, you can choose to remain nothing more than ego, nothing more than a video game character, nothing more than a mindless figure in a dream, or you can choose to make contact with your greater self, which is your true self, which is who is speaking to you right now, as a matter of fact. So, and you do that by not buying into the dream, by questioning the dream. So you're sitting there, the line is slow, they've only got one register open, and you've got places to go, things to do, people to see. You begin to get irritated. Irritation arises within you. Realize you are not your irritation. You are having irritation, but you are not your irritation. So step back and look at that energy, the energy of irritation. How does that feel in your body? What does it do to your heartbeat? What does it do to the muscles in your arms, your face? Do you like it? Do you want this energy in your body? Step back from it and look at it, and you will see, well, this is actually kind of a poisonous kind of energy. This can't possibly be healthy for me. No, I don't want this energy in my body. And when the thoughts come, the energy triggers thoughts. The thoughts are not yours. You are not your thoughts. The thoughts are arising within you, triggered by the energy of irritation. But step back from them. Look at them. You are not those thoughts. Don't become, people think that their thoughts are them. They don't realize that they're just having the thoughts. So you are just having those thoughts. You can choose to have other thoughts. You can choose to release the irritation. You can choose to look at the experience as the egoic mind is trying to give you an experience of dissatisfaction, suffering. I mean, it's waiting in a long line to get to pay. This is not like the top, up in the top 10 of suffering events of humankind. But it's designed to elicit dissatisfaction, frustration, irritation, the idea that life is hard, that things, just can't just flow smoothly, that there's always going to be a problem. It's just like the universe is against you. You were going to get in and get out, and now suddenly you're confronted with the world's slowest cash register person and 50 people in one line because everybody decided they needed to go to the same store at the same time as you, right? It's like the universe is conspiring against you to make your life difficult. And that's, you put one cash register in that store, 50 people in that store all wanting to leave at the same time. You put all of that there so that you could experience lack and limitation and difficulty and hardship and frustration. So instead of taking the bait and experiencing all of those things, realize that you are not the irritation and you are not the limiting beliefs and the limiting thoughts, and choose to respond differently. Choose to look at it as an opportunity to transcend the negative ego, the death urge, the pain body, an opportunity to wake up. And realizing that you put all of that there, you can just accept it. Oh, wow, thank you. Wow, thank you for showing me this. Thank you for showing me the ways that I sabotage and undermine myself. Thank you for showing me patience. Thank you for revealing to me the way in which, if things don't go exactly the way I think they should go, I automatically assume that I know better than the people who are doing it. Maybe they don't have a choice. Maybe they got a memo from corporate. We will not have more than one person working the cash register. Maybe the line only appears to be moving slowly because you're in such a hurry. Maybe you will get through the line when you get through the line, which will get you to your next place at exactly the right time, with exactly the right people, exactly when you were supposed to be there, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe it's all perfect. Maybe you could be grateful for this opportunity to learn that getting irritated at how, at the time required to get through a line, is as silly as getting irritated when it rains and you had plans to go on a picnic. Which is also silly, in case I'm the first one to tell you that. Reality is as it is. It's raining. There is no value in getting annoyed at the fact that it is raining. There's no logic or sanity in getting annoyed at the fact that it is raining. You're becoming irritated and annoyed at what is. It already is. It's raining. It already is. There's one person working the cash registers and it's a long line. It already is. You're not changing anything by becoming irritated and annoyed at it. So all this irritation and annoyance and this egoic mind chatter about they should know better, they should respect their customers more, they should do a better job. That's egoic stuff designed to keep the illusion going, designed to keep you feeling separate. It keeps the dream of separation going by keeping you feeling separate, because the whole thing of it is when you complain about something, you are you're setting yourself up as superior to what you're complaining about. If you're complaining about something, then that something is wrong, and by implication you are right, and therefore you are superior. So you are right and you are superior, and that keeps you separate from the thing that is wrong and inferior. And that's the whole point of it, is to keep the game of separation going, to keep the belief in separation going. Remember, we set this whole thing up. We created this whole universe to experience being separate from the absolute. And so anything which fosters a feeling of separation is serving that in, and in fact exists precisely because it does serve that in. And so the video game character on autoplay, automatically following the programming, or the person in the dream that doesn't know it's a dream yet, they are following the in, let's say, getting back to the long checkout line, you're experiencing irritation and thoughts of superiority and separateness. Why don't they respect their customers? Why don't they know better than to only have one person? Why can't they see how many people are waiting to get out? All of that is to keep separation going. Irritation, frustration, thoughts of blame, judgment, fear even, superiority, I'm right, they're wrong. All of that. The irritation is a contracted energy that actually physically, as well as psychologically, walls you off from everything else, making you feel separate. So it's all about making you feel and see and perceive and think separate, separation. Separated, separative, and separating. That's what you do. But you don't have to do that. You can simply watch this energy of irritation arise and ask yourself, do I want this energy in my body? And you can look at the thoughts coming in and realize that they're just a part of the egoic game trying to keep the whole myth and illusion of separation going, and you can begin to question that. Is this really true? Is this really true? How do I know it's true? What happens to me because I believe? What is my experience of life because I believe these thoughts? And what would my experience of life be if I chose not to believe these thoughts? Are they really only keeping one register open because they have no respect for their customers? Really? Is that what, do I really know that's true? Do I really think that's what the supervisors are thinking? Yeah, screw them. I could care less about my customers. I hope they all have a miserable day. I just don't want to even think about trying to make things work well for them. Right? And so then if you are, it's not like you have no choice. If you really have to be someplace and you're getting crunched for time, you can always simply leave your, forego your purchase. Maybe come back another time when it's not so crowded. Walk out of the store. Change your experience. Change your situation. If your situation is totally unacceptable to you, you can change it. That's always a choice. But, and you change it, you don't throw stuff down and yell and scream at all the idiots that run in the store on your way out the door, knocking over this, right? You just, without irritation, accepting it as, again, do you want that energy in your body? You tried to do something, it's not working out. You wanted to go on a picnic, it's raining, it didn't work out. You don't rail at the heavens for daring to rain on your picnic. It's reality. You don't argue with reality. So you're in the store, you're not going to be able to complete your purchase and get to your next place on time. Maybe you've got a hard, deadline. So you just calmly put your stuff down, calmly walk out, no big deal. You don't have to be annoyed and irritated and frustrated. You don't have to take it as a personal insult from the universe conspiring to make your life difficult. It's none of those things. It just happened. And whatever happened is probably for the best. You're going to wind up, you know what's going to happen? You'll come back 2 days later and everything that you were trying to buy will be half off and you'll save a ton of money. It always works out. So that's one approach. That's one thing you can do. You can just choose to change things. You can choose to maybe alter the situation within the store. Politely walk over to the manager and ask them, can they open up another line, because it's too many people. It's just a lot of people for just one line. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But and again, you don't like, let me tell you how to do your job, because you're obviously an idiot. So what you need to do, no, you don't. You just politely ask. All that can happen is they say, the worst that happens is they say, no, sorry, we can't do that. There's nobody else here that knows how to run the machine, or whatever they tell you. Or maybe they'll say, yeah, thank you for letting us know. I didn't realize the line had gotten so long. Sorry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, please come over to aisle 4, and we'll start checking more of you out. You never know. Might work out. So what I'm saying is you don't, when you have a situation arising of irritation and frustration, and the mind starts going off on these half-cocked, really paranoid fantasies, right? Like, when you are thinking they don't respect their customers, that's kind of a paranoid way to go. And I say that, hesitantly, because I know 99% of people do exactly that. But if you really think about it, it's really kind of a paranoid thought to have. They've only got one line open because they want to disrespect you. All right. You don't want that energy in your body, so you can either take action to change the situation. If you have any kind of like maneuverability or choice, you don't have to have this item right now. You can come back. There is somebody available that seems to be kind of a supervisor type that you can politely speak to. Maybe you can change the situation that way. Or you can't change the situation. Then you have to decide, is it acceptable or not? If it's completely not acceptable, leave. If you can change the situation by leaving, by extracting yourself from it, okay, that's one way. And then if you can't or really don't want to because it's not worth the effort, then it's like if you choose to stay there, then why make yourself miserable with irritation and frustration, and probably make everybody else around you miserable too, because you're going to be, your body language is going to be tensing people up. You're going to say, blurt out stuff that's going to be tensing people up, and they're probably already getting tensed up and irritated and frustrated from the situation enough, just like you. But so you can just accept it and bless it and love it and just enjoy, okay, so I'm going to be in this line for longer than I thought. What is it to experience being in this line? And you can shift the energy that way. You shift the energy and the irritation no longer arises. The frustration no longer arises. You don't indulge that energy, and you don't have that poison in your body. And then the thoughts become more harmonious and more loving and more accepting. And you're not running the ego's blame game and judgment game. And it's an enjoyable experience. And you find out being in the checkout line for 10 minutes is actually an enjoyable experience. And it doesn't have to be a me against the universe separation game, right? And that is when you've gone beyond the video game character or the dream character that doesn't know it's a dream. You've gotten in touch with the player out in the real world. You've gotten in touch with the dreamer. You've gotten in touch with that consciousness, which is your own true consciousness, your real essential nature. was asked. I did an interview. I had a radio station from the States that wanted to interview me. And during the course of the interview, I was talking about the Yidam in Tibetan Buddhism, which, or at least the school that I'm familiar with, the Karma Kagyu school, which is generally most well known for the 6 Yogas of Naropa, or Naropa, which, yeah, it's pretty advanced, but it's really, it's kind of like the basic beginner stuff. The Yidam is kind of more advanced, and so, or at least one of the highest teachings is they have you cultivate the Yidam, which is a process, and it can take anywhere, depending on the practitioner, weeks, months, years. But you meditate and you visualize your personal deity until it appears in your room, hut, or cave. Generally that's the 3 choices, with you, and it appears to be completely real. You have dinner with your Yidam, this character, this deity that you start out imagining it. So it'd be like, maybe make this be more understandable. Imagine you had a meditation where you were imagining a unicorn in your garden, and you did this every day, several times a day, and it was a very specific process about how you're supposed to go about doing this, imagining the unicorn in your garden. And you do this until the unicorn, not only do you see it, like it starts out, it's just like, you're not quite sure, it was there for a second, then it was gone. You see it, but it's kind of transparent, kind of ghost-like, kind of wispy. Eventually, the idea is you get to the point where it is so real, you're feeding it and you're riding it up and down the street. Then, after you've got it to where it's that real, now you make it disappear. So like I say, depending on the practitioner, this can take weeks, months, or years, and some people are never able to do it. But that's only step 1. If you are successfully able to do that, make it appear, make it disappear. You then go to your lama, your guru, lama, teacher, the meditation retreat master, and tell him, he'll interview you, and you describe to him what your experience was. And then after you're done, he'll ask you, so where did the Yidam come from? Where did the Yidam come from? And if you say it came from the heaven realms, or it came from the Buddha realms, you are what's considered to be a mediocre practitioner, and your guru will nod at you sweetly and say, very good, now go read this book, and you'll leave all happy. But if you give the correct answer and say, it is a projection of my own consciousness, because you realize that, you figured that out, then you are what's considered an advanced practitioner, and the guru or lama at this point will point across the valley at a mountain and say, see that mountain over there? And you go, yeah. And he'll say, that too is a projection of your consciousness. And this is the great enlightening pointing out. For some people, that hits them like a thunder strike, and they are stunned into instant, total enlightenment. And that's the whole point of the whole exercise, to get you to that moment. So that is another way of playing the game, of awakening within the dream, of making contact with the player, with the joystick. And so life itself presents us with multiple opportunities every day to awaken by simply realizing that everything that we see and perceive, hear, touch, taste, whatever, everything that appears to happen within our field of experience it can be transformed into a learning experience, because it's an opportunity to see our own consciousness being reflected out there. Let's see. I think we're gonna. It's 1:30. I guess it's exactly good. It's 1:30 exactly. So I'll be getting the commercials in right on time. So we're gonna take a short break, pay some bills, make some sponsors happy, get some commercials out there, and then see you on the other side here on Children of the Sun, WSTX AM 970. Thank you.